Hey, baddies. Welcome to Baddie Diaries. We're in our second round of the live series. I'm super excited because we're talking about today how to stop being nice and start charging bank in your business. So, this is a requested topic from my latest round of the LinkedIn Baddie program. I think we've all struggled with undercharging and giving away discounts or assuming that people can't pay our prices, feeling bad to charge a certain amount to people. And so we're going to talk about how to get over that fear today. Hey, thanks for joining. Have some people joining on the Instagram here. Okay. So let's get started here. So if anyone is already here, I'd love to know whether you have ever felt like you have undercharged your services. So I think we have like one person on the IG. Just drop an emoji if you're like, I undercharged my services before, because I certainly have. And I want to talk about some of the ways in which I have stopped doing that in my business. And I strive to always charge what I feel like is actually worth my services, not something that I feel like is something that someone will pay for. So let's get started here. I think one of the early culprits of undercharging is that we don't really value our time enough. So it's funny because when we leave corporate, we leave the 9 to 5 and the hourly mindset, right? Because as an employee, we're typically we're paid hourly. And so we kind of know what our time is worth. But when we become entrepreneurs, we know that we have to spend a lot of time building our business, and there's going to be some things that we do that we're not going to be getting that hourly rate all the time because we're building our business. But I think with that, we also start to, with imposter syndrome, it starts to seep in that uh, our time is not as valuable, because it's almost like we want the business to succeed. And so we're like, oh, even if we have to do a little bit of extra work or we have to do this extra thing for a client, it's like we're very quick to take from our own time, but we're not quick to take from someone else's time. And this is where kind of shifting away from that employee mindset and that hourly mindset is actually damaging. And so although we want to get rid of our employee mindset, something that I've been trying to do is to actually look at my time as a cost, right? So for example, if I'm jumping on a sales call, if I am going above and beyond for a client, I'm actually looking at like, how many hours did I spend doing this? Is this going to be work that can be used for another client? Or is this something that is just, not a good use of my time and I'm not actually being compensated for it? So that's sometimes an early framework that I've used to, I think we have a person on the YouTube chat here. I think someone just came in. If you guys come in, drop an emoji. I want to know who's with me here. Where are you signing in from? I guess not really like signing in, but like attending the live from. Drop an emoji. I'd love to know where you're coming in from. So, on the topic of undercharging, I want to tell you two stories where I was too nice and I left way too much money on the table. And I definitely don't make mistakes at this caliber anymore. But let's chat about them, because I think you're gonna find something that you can relate to in these stories. So the first one is one of my very early clients. So they actually came in from TikTok. This was like early days. I hadn't even quit my job last year. Like, someone had purchased a coaching call from me, I think, on TikTok. Or actually, sorry, they hadn't even purchased a coaching call because I didn't have it up. They had emailed me and been like, I want LinkedIn help. And so I jumped on a call with them, like a sales call with them. And for some reason, I ended up, so they wanted to do 3 sessions to go through kind of 3 things. And so I had basically, for some reason, I like had my hourly rate for the coaching calls, and I decided to combine the three And I felt like so I had bundled them. So I was like, typically my rate is this, but like because you're buying three, here's the bundle. And like because of my imposter syndrome, I literally right there and then all automatically added a discount. I was like, so I've bundled them. Usually my rate is this, but I'm gonna lower it to like it's you're getting a bundle and I'm going to give you a discount on top of that. And like literally the guy was like, what the hell is going on? Because he's a salesperson, right? And so this was really embarrassing because he literally told me point blank, he's like, you didn't have to give me that discount just now. And it was so awkward because I was like, crap, like I definitely did not have, like, why was I doing that? Why am I like assuming? And it was like I was charging honestly like a really small amount. It was like less than 200 bucks per hour. It was like bundled and then a discount. Like it was crazy. And so I think sometimes we just, again, we assume that the price is too high and we get nervous and we're so scared that we just start like vomiting more like discounts and deals. So one of the things that I've been doing is just like shutting my mouth because you don't know whether the person's going to say yes or no. So if you immediately turn your cards in, you're like, oh, like I can give you a discount. You're never going to know if that person was going to pay that higher price. And now you will forever be stuck at this low price because you're never trying to push past that threshold, right? So this was like baby Lena days, not comfortable selling, like really did not know what I was doing, imposter syndrome, like my offers were all over the place. It was just really crazy. And so let me know if you guys resonate with this. Have you ever felt like you just had so much imposter syndrome and you're just like, I'm just going to give this person a deal because I feel like that's what's maybe going to get them to work with me so I can get some experience. Drop an emoji in the chat if you've been there because I have definitely 1,000% obviously been there. The next story I want to tell you is this is probably the most kind of annoying situation that I put myself in. So I had a client again, someone had approached me on TikTok that actually purchased one of my coaching calls straight from TikTok. They had just discovered me within like 30 minutes. We jumped on a call and they had gotten some initial help with their profile, but they had decided that they didn't really have like the bandwidth or the knowledge to basically do the whole profile on their own. So they were like, can you do it for me? Hey, thanks for joining. Let me know where you're joining from. I'm just live on YouTube and Instagram. We just have some Instagram people coming in here. Yeah, let me know where you're joining from. And yeah, we're just chatting about undercharging and how not to freaking undercharge in your business. Anyway, so I had this client, they purchased a coaching call. We jumped on the coaching call. They decided that they wanted my help with their whole profile. They were like, can you just do it for me? So I created a proposal for them. I sent them the proposal. We hadn't discussed the price on the call because, again, this was early days. I made so many mistakes. Hey, thanks for joining. One of my home girls from back in Croatia is just joining. She's in Canada, but she's Croatian, joining my IG live. But anyway, so we hadn't discussed the price. And so I sent the proposal over after, and I kind of like put a price that I thought made sense. I'd actually really pushed myself to like charge more. I was like, okay, let's try to really push because I learned from that last like first client. And I sent the proposal, and like a few days go by, a week goes by, literally 2 weeks go by, and I'm like, oh my God, like the price is too high. Like, obviously, it's too high. The initial coaching call was like under 200 US dollars or something. And then the proposal, I don't even remember how much the one was, but it felt like it was a lot. And the emotion that I had was like, I've disrespected this person, right? Have you ever felt like that? Like, hey, thanks for joining. Have you ever felt like you've said your price and it's too high and the person now feels like you've disrespected them? Drop an emoji if you ever felt like that. You're like, oh my God, I just literally offended this person with what I'm asking them to pay. Let me know if you resonate with that. Because so basically 2 weeks go by, this woman has not gone back to me. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like this is obviously the price. And so I think it was like 1.5 weeks go by or something. And I couldn't take it anymore because I was like, oh my gosh, like this woman thinks that I'm like like arrogant or something, right? I'm literally like, oh my God, she thinks I'm like an evil person. Like, how dare I? This like poor woman, she's like trying to run her business. Literally, I'm like getting into victim mindset for her. And literally, I send an email. Oh my gosh, I like hate myself for doing this. But actually, I take that back. I don't hate myself for doing it because these are the mistakes that make us better, but it just makes me cringe. So I actually emailed her and I was like, hey, I noticed you haven't responded. I kind of presumed maybe like the price point is a little bit too high. I'm happy to chat about like a different option or something. And I was like, okay, surely she'll reply. We'll like find a good price point and I'll work with her and I'll get experience and all this stuff. Again, nothing. She's like, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like I've completely messed this one up. Like this woman hates me. Like obviously now I'm like trying to go back on like disrespecting her and like this is never gonna work. Like this is just so terrible. And then I even wrote a LinkedIn post about it and I was like, I got ghosted by a client because I overcharged and it's just ridiculous. Literally a week later, this woman responds to my email, or actually, she didn't even respond to my email. She sends me a new email and she's like, hey, I'm so sorry. Like, your email got completely lost, like in my inbox. I'd love to go forward with the proposal. Let's go for it. And I was like, okay, like, that sounds like it seems like I guess like the price wasn't too high. And so at this point, I don't know which email she's seen. I don't know what's going on. I've sent her 2 proposals. So I'm like, okay, I'm just going to send her the bigger proposal and let's just ignore the last email. So I literally like go with full intention. I'm like, let's just go back on the original proposal. She's clearly not checking her email. Like, let's just whatever. Like I didn't even give her a different price, right? I just said, is it the price? She didn't respond. So I'm like, let's just go with it. So I go to respond to her email and I'm like, hey, let's do it. And I attach the proposal. But what I don't realize is that I've messed up my documents in my G Drive. And in this whole kerfluffle of wanting to, change the price for her and feeling guilty, I had created a new proposal with a lower price. And I'd gotten freaking confused about the stupid PDFs that I was downloading in the Google Docs and everything, that I had uploaded the new price, like something with a new price that was a lower price. So anyway, because of this whole nerves, and I was so stressed and I was so like emotional, I like thought this person literally hated me. Because of that, I basically completely messed up my whole operations. And so ever since then, I've basically decided that if someone, like, I'm saying my price and I'm not backing down, I will give you a payment plan. I will like, try to, do things like that to make it more accessible, or I'll give you like a lower tier offer so that you can reduce your risk and then upsell with me for like, a 3-month container or something. But like, I will never lower my prices again. I have heard no so many times in the past 3 weeks because I've been pushing my prices, and I don't regret it because I've also been hearing yeses. And so, literally, after these 2 incidents, I started raising my prices and not caring if someone says no to my price. Because the thing is, I have full belief. I don't know if you guys saw my carousel yesterday on Instagram and LinkedIn, but I was talking about how I went from like hating selling, literally being afraid to sell, to actually being excited to sell every time, because I'm actually curious to see if it's going to work. So I think in the early days, it's really scary. And I think we're in a lack mindset and we feel like any extra like big price that we say is like really scary. But once you start doing it, it becomes more normalized. So for example, I'll tell you, I just took on another client recently, and I had actually raised my prices before I had taken them on. And my price was a little over their budget. And I knew that because when they sign up for a call with me, I asked them what their budget was. And so old Lena would have probably, like, because I'm in the process of raising my prices, and I was actually just at the point of raising my prices past that threshold that was actually her budget, right? I was trying to actually break that limit. And so what old Lena would have done, she would have been like, oh, this is her budget. I'm just going to quote like a little under it just to make sure that I close her or close him or whoever this person is. It's happened multiple times in the past few weeks. Today, Lena, that's not what I do. I will literally push. But the thing is, I'll also pick up on signals. So if I feel like the person is very bought in, I'm actually going to push the price just because I know that this is an opportunity to push the threshold. So because they're already bought in, it's like their budget is not as stringent because it's almost like some people decide whether they want to work with you or not before they hear the price. And it's almost like this isn't a conscious thing, but when they're really bought into working with you, within reason, any really price that you give them, they're going to go for it because they're really bought into you. Again, this takes skills to be able to actually discern who is really into it or not. And usually, when anyone is coming from a referral or coming from an existing program of yours, like they've already worked with you or they bought a product for you or something, there's more trust. And so that's where I find they're able to kind of go up their budget. But basically, with these last few people, I went a little over their budget. Like I'm not talking like two to three to $500. I'm just talking like $97 or like $150 or something. But I always want to push that boundary because as soon as you get to the discomfort, that's where there's an opportunity to actually increase your prices, or get clear on who it is that you're serving, who is going to pay those prices. I recently had a lead come in and they were just not the right fit. They don't have the right willingness to pay. They don't have the right business model. They are just not the right stage in their journey. They're just not someone who is going to want to invest in proper one-on-one coaching right now. They're probably someone who should buy like a digital product to learn about LinkedIn, maybe like $300 or something, or like 100 or whatever, but they're not ready to purchase coaching, right? And so instead of me now bending over backwards and freaking out and being like, oh my God, my prices are too high, it's like, no, this is the wrong person. And so a lot of the time we assume that our prices are too high, but it's because we're actually talking to the wrong person. And the wrong person will never be able to pay our prices. And the longer that we try to serve and stay within that price point of that person who is not the right fit for us, the longer we're going to stay in that lower level, right? And so something that I've done since I've had those situations where I undercharge and it still happens, like I'm not perfect, but what I've done is basically I've taken my business's success into my own hands, not my clients' hands, and certainly not my prospects' hands. I'm not going to let some random lead dictate how I run my business and how I raise my prices. That is not what I'm about. I decide how much I charge. I decide who I work with. I decide whether I think a price is too high or not based on who I'm talking to. And so, like, no one's going to raise your prices for you. Even your best clients are going to continue to pay your lower prices. I'm going to give you another example. There's this guy who I was going to hire for video editing like a few months ago. I didn't end up hiring with him. I ended up going with a different video editor. But anyway, so this video editor guy that I was thinking about hiring. So I was thinking about hiring them. And honestly, a large reason why I was thinking about hiring them is because they're good at what they do, but also their prices are really low. I was like, whoa, this is like so cheap. Like, I don't think this guy knows how much more he can charge. And I really like the guy, honestly. Like, I really like him. I want his business to grow, but it's like I'm selfish. Like, I'm like, and honestly, sometimes I thought about him like, oh, like he's a kid, and he's this kid from like Knoxville, and he's like such a like cutie, and I should really just maybe help him out and just be like, bro, like you can charge more. But it's like I was like, no, like I'm not gonna tell you. Like, I'm sorry, but it's like I'm running a business here. Like, I'm not coaching you. And so even your best clients might not want to tell you that you can charge more. Maybe like your creme de la creme clients who absolutely adore you will be like, literally take my money. But very few people are going to literally be like, you should charge me more money. You have to do it yourself. Like, no one is going to do it for you. And if you're not constantly putting yourself in that position of pushing the boundaries, you're going to forever just be stuck here, being nice, apologizing for your price, feeling like you are offending people. Like that actually makes me mad that I like thought that I offended someone. Like I'll tell, like with that woman like last year. Granted, that was a really long time ago, but I'll tell you, like the other day with the lead that came in, it's like the price that I quoted them, it like really put them in a coma. And at one point they were even messaging me and they're just like, that's more than my like 1 month take home salary. And I'm like, that's all well and good. Like I can totally empathize with that. Like, trust me, I used to make a salary like that and I get it. Like, I get it. Trust me, I know what it's like to have a tight budget. But on the flip side, it's like, I'm not gonna like it's like some people when they hear that, it's like, oh, that's more than like my whatever, like that's more than my mortgage, or like that's more than like I pay to fix my car. It's just like people are gonna say all these things, but it's also like, think about it like this: like no one's coming into Louis Vuitton, or no one's like buying from Apple and being like, oh my God, like this iPhone is like 3 months of my paycheck. Like Apple doesn't care because they're like, you either pay it or you don't, because I know the next person's gonna pay it. So this isn't about like being a bitch and being like, I don't care about your like crappy budget, but it's just like, it's again responding with empathy. Like I 100% understand that this is a big deal for you. Like, yes. But on the flip side, it's like, this is my price and like I stand by it. And I'm not gonna let that comment shake my confidence. I'm not gonna let that make me spiral into lack of confidence where I'm just like, oh, like I'm such a bad person. It's like, I'm not a bad person. I'm running a business. And also, it's like a lot of business owners, like it takes a really long time to even break even. So it's like a lot of you guys, like I've been in the situation, it's like you're not even breaking even and you're scared to charge these prices. It's like this is survival. And this is where we really need to take ourselves away from the business and talk about the fact that we're running a business. Like we have to take ourselves, remove ourselves from our head and remember that we are running a business here. Like we're trying to make money. Like we're not a charity. Yes, we care about our clients. I'm the first person to literally care about my clients and be like worried when they're not getting results. Like I really want them to get results, but at the same time, it's like I'm running a business here. Like I'm not, this isn't a hobby. This isn't like a feel good like drum circle. This is like, I'm trying to freaking make money for my business and my future kids, right? And so I'm always pushing myself with my prices because this is survival mode, right? And I think a lot of us get really complacent with our business and it's like we don't want the sales. Like it's like we gave birth to this baby that like literally is screaming for our help. Like think about your business as your baby and it really just wants you to raise the price so it can eat. And it's literally like screaming and you're on the sales call like, no, I'll just like give you a discount, like I'll just like bundle it, and the baby's literally screaming like on the verge of dying, and you're like, no, like it's okay, I'll give you $500 off. It's like, and that's the mentality that you need to get into, because that's what's going to make you stop essentially giving a shit about what people think and giving a shit about getting rejected, because getting rejected for your price is the first step to raising your prices. That's something that is so hard to internalize, right? Because we think, oh, people will pay us more when we like, we please them, we give them a nice price and all. No. Like if you want to charge more, you have to push the boundaries and you have to get rejected. If you're getting a yes every single time for your offer, your prices aren't high enough. Like they're not high enough. You're the person, you're that guy, you're that video editor with me being the client and thinking like, oh shit, like, is he going to raise his prices soon? Literally that guy messaged me the other day. He's like, hey, I have new prices. And I was like, I'm so happy for you. I wasn't going to tell you to do it, but like, I'm so happy that you have higher prices because you needed higher prices a long time ago. But again, because I'm selfish, I'm not going to tell you that because I want my money. And no client, unless, I don't know, again, they're like a dream client where they're for some reason really invested in your personal success, they're not going to tell you that your prices are too low. Like, you have to do this for yourself. The other two pieces that I want to talk about are more kind of like the strategic on charging higher prices. So the first thing that I'll say is there's a certain way in which you can have the upper hand when you're charging your prices, when you're selling, when you're having people like leads come in talking to them. And that is if you're bringing people in inbound. So inbound content marketing, like you're posting content on LinkedIn that is directly bringing clients into your DMs. Like, you're literally structuring your posts in a way that says, like, you strategize your post and then you're actually telling people, hey, DM me if this is a problem. Because when you do that, you're actually getting people to come to you. And so we all know this. When people come to us, that's when we have the upper hand, right? Because it's kind of like they need something from us. That's kind of the feeling. And that's where also you can feel more confident. And confidence is key to charging higher prices. And so this is why I only teach inbound strategies in all my programs to all my clients. It's literally the thing that makes them go from hating their life, because a lot of them are coming from like cold outreach, or they're coming from like referrals where you're having to like rely on someone else basically to like generate a sale for you, or you're having to actually go out there and find people. But when they switch to the inbound strategy, they find that they're able to just have more control over the leads that are coming in, but also people are more hot to buy. They're warmer, and they you feel like you're able to navigate the sales conversation easier again. And so that is a super, hey Ilza, thanks for joining. I love Ilza. She's one of my favorite social media creators. She's like super just very like happy, and I feel like we need more happy people creating content, because I feel like people are just like complaining about content all the time. But basically, so I'm talking about this like inbound strategy. So this is honestly the biggest thing that's helped me raise my prices, charge what I believe makes sense for my services, is because I'm having people come to me through my content. I'm not reaching out to them. So it's almost like giving this vibe of like, I'm already good with my sales, but like if you also want to come in, you can join me, versus like cold emailing. It's kind of like you're probably cold emailing a lot of businesses, and it's just kind of gets into a different mindset, right? Like you're just not on a level playing ground with your prospects, right? Because like that you're going to them, but when they're coming to you, it's like you kind of have the upper hand there. And so next week in Baddie Diaries, I'm going to be talking about how to truly create, like what it takes to create content that converts, how to create content that grabs your ideal prospect's attention and gets them to want to message you. So I'm going to be covering that next week. But that is basically a large reason of why I've been able to raise my prices. And I think the other thing that really comes to mind is just really that confidence piece. And like, so I have one client who she started working with me when she was doing a bunch of cold outreach, and she just felt like it wasn't something that gave her confidence. It didn't make her feel like she was a sought after leader or like a thought leader and stuff. And so a lot of my clients, when they switch from the cold outreach process to a more inbound marketing strategy, especially using content on platforms like LinkedIn, they find that like they just feel better as a professional, and they actually also start to build their community. So it's not just about like selling to clients all the time, but you're actually creating like a presence where you're increasing your opportunities as well because you're connecting yourself with other people. And so it's almost like she's viewing herself as a different person. Like she's viewing herself as a creator now, as opposed to just being like a salesperson. And she's now built up a community on LinkedIn. Like she feels comfortable commenting on a lot of other people's posts about things that are related to her niche or not. She's posting personal stories that are helping her resonate with, connect with her clients, her prospects, or like there's partnership opportunities coming up. She had a call with a potential client who's also a super connector. This is someone who might open a lot of doors for her business over the next few years. And so when you're doing this content based approach, like I think you're just increasing your visibility in general and you're nurturing people at scale, right? And so you're nurturing people who are not just now interested in your solution, but also who are going to be ready to buy in a few weeks, in a few months, or whatever. But you're actually going to be familiar to them. And so this is the other piece. Is I had a woman connect with me on LinkedIn yesterday, and she was saying like, "Oh, I love all your Instagram stories," and I was like, "What do you like about them?" And she's like, "I feel like I already know you." And so imagine like someone is approaching to work with you and they feel like they already know you. There's some trust there, right? That's going to be so much easier for you to navigate in terms of a sales conversation because you kind of have that upper hand, right? Like, hey, thanks for joining. It's like you are already familiar to them because one of the biggest things that makes selling harder is the unknown and the unfamiliarity and the lack of trust, right? Like someone new selling you something, like you don't know who they are, you don't know what they're about. But when people are already familiar with you, it's just so much easier to have those conversations. It's even down to like literally my clients are like, I just feel more comfortable DMing because I know that I have like a presence online, right? So all of this plays into how you sell your offers and what you charge for your offers. Like your public image does matter, and if you have a strong personal brand, that is going to equate to being able to raise your prices literally because you have a presence, like you have an asset that someone can clearly see you're an expert, right? The last thing that I'm going to talk about before I'm going to jump off is and I'll just mention quickly, actually, we are preparing the passive version of the LinkedIn Baddie program. I'm so excited. We're in week 4 of the actual live Baddie program right now, but we're packaging up the passive, like a self-paced course version of the Baddie program. So this is for someone who is not yet on LinkedIn. They want to get on LinkedIn because they know their ideal clients are on LinkedIn, but they don't really know how to figure out the algorithm. They feel like it's super corporate. They feel like it's boring. They feel like they don't belong there. Well, the LinkedIn Baddie program is where you're going to basically find out how to show up on LinkedIn as you, same way you do on Instagram, just a little more polished, and how to basically get your profile going, get your network growing, and get your content publishing. So this is like your it's like your little intro into like catapult to LinkedIn so that you can start building your community of future buyers. I'm so excited. It's going to be obviously cheaper than the live version. So if you're interested in the self-paced version of the LinkedIn Baddie program, send me a message on Instagram or LinkedIn, or email me or whatever, and I can tell you more about when it's coming out and what it's included and how much it is and everything, and whether that would be the best option for you. But anyway, moving on to the last piece that I want to talk about in this live, which is surrounding one of the really big culprits for why we undercharge in our business. And so this literally still trips me up. So we literally love to make assumptions about people. So drop an emoji in the chat if you're like, I've definitely made some assumptions about people in the past, either in my personal life or in business, and they've turned out to be wrong. Like, put an emoji if you're like, I've been there, I'm not invincible, I've been wrong about something before, because I personally have. And so this happens with selling a lot, right? So I'm going to tell you like a few stories where our assumptions literally are just ridiculous. So I closed a client for one of my four-figure offers earlier this year without jumping on a sales call after literally having been discovered by them in a week. So you'd think that like they were pretty ready to work with me, right? And so they had purchased the offer. And after they purchased the offer, they messaged me and they're like, oh, like I feel really nervous. And so, of course, because we love to assume about people, I assumed that because, of course, in our heads, it's always about us. It's about our offer. It's about our price. It's about what we did. It's never about them. um I responded and I was like, oh, like, haha, yeah, like sometimes I get nervous too before a big investment. And because I think like I wasn't sure what a big investment was to them, and so I kind of just thought like it's a big investment. And they replied and they were like, oh, no, no, like I'm not nervous about the investment, I'm just nervous about myself. Like I'm nervous about like getting feedback and like being told what not to do, and like basically like embarrassed, right? And so it actually wasn't anything to do with the price. And so I think we oftentimes assume that it's about the price, and we assume that it's about us, and we assume that they don't have anything else going on in their life. Like literally last week, followed up with a client who was interested in one-on-one coaching because I hadn't heard from them in a bit. Followed up, and turns out that they're just waiting for their business credit card. I had a feeling it was something to do with them. They probably got caught up. They just got back from vacation. There's a lot going on. Like I'm not top of mind to them. They were getting a business credit card. They're probably waiting. They probably have me on their list and waiting for that card. It's just something is holding them back, right? Another client who was in the first round of the Baddie program when I first launched it. I actually followed up with them twice to join the Baddie program because I knew that I had a strong signal. And I kind of had a feeling it wasn't anything about me. I think they were just really busy. And both times they're like, oh, thank you so much for reminding me. And then the second time they're like, I paid now, like I'm in, no more procrastinating. Thank you so much for pushing me. They were just busy. They just forgot. Like people are not constantly thinking about our offers. They're not constantly thinking about us. So it's not always about the price. It's not always about the offer. It could just be that something else is going on in their life, right? The other thing that I'll also say is like we tend to assume who can afford what. And this is what I used to, and I still do it. And sometimes like we get it wrong, right? It's like we think like, oh, this person's like, they have a lot of willingness to pay. And then they're just like, ooh, like that lead the other day, they're just like, oh my gosh, like that's so much money. And it's like, oh, whoa, sorry. Like, so again, instead of me being like, oh, like, I'm so sorry, like I kind of like felt like I'm sorry for offending you with my price. It's more just like, oh, like you're the wrong person. So instead of automatically thinking like, oh my gosh, like no, like I've offended them and I need to lower my price and I can't do this anymore. It's like, no, like you're talking to the wrong person. Or maybe you said it in the wrong way. Maybe you didn't provide enough like evidence of the value that you're gonna like. It could be so many things. Like it's not always the price. And so when you're selling, for example, again, and this takes time to be able to discern and to be able to read people. But like when someone tells you that something's their budget, like even that, it's not always the case. Because I know there are certain sales I've made where if I had told them from the get go, hey, it's this much money, they probably wouldn't have gone for it. But because they got bought into me and they binged my content and they, maybe watched me live or whatever, it's like they jump on a sales call and I give them the options. Again, they're already bought in. And so like their budget almost goes out the window because and that's kind of like the sweet spot that you want to get to where it's like people just want to work with you, where it's like it doesn't really matter what the price is. They just know that you're the one for them. It takes time to get there. But if you ever want to get there, you're going to have the hard conversations. You're going to have to hear the no's. You're going to have to make some pretty crazy assumptions about people and you're going to get them wrong. And I think that's the thing that prevents people from selling. And that's actually what prevented me from like properly selling and raising my prices and finding my ideal clients is I was too scared to really truly like ask and get rejected and push the boundaries. Like if you're forever asking just $1,000 for your services and you're never going up because you're so scared of being rejected, well, guess what? You're going to keep charging $1,000 for as long as you keep charging $1,000. Like, and so the objection that I hear from a lot of people, and they're just like, oh, but like I need the money. I get it, but my question to you is like, how badly do you need the money today? Like, do you literally need that money to eat right now? If you do, that's, okay, that's kind of actual survival mode. But, here's a crazy idea. If you literally cannot afford to like raise your price by $200 and get rejected by one client, honestly, I think what you should do is like take out a loan and then get aggressive with your prices so that you can go over that threshold and start charging more. The loan is to carry you through this transition, but if you do not at one point start and find a way to create some kind of a safety net for yourself, you're never going to get past the $1,000 mark or whatever your service is. You're never going to get there. So again, you don't have to be super risk, like, massive risk taker where you're like, I'm going to double my prices, triple them, increase them slowly, right? Like, I'm not saying like, don't get any sales for August because you've tripled your prices. No, like maybe some sales you take in a more of a safe way, right? Where you're just like, oh, like I'm just gonna, like this person really doesn't seem like they have a lot of willingness to pay, but I really need the sale. Maybe let's not be this aggressive with this person, but with the next one, I feel like they're kind of a little more, there's a little more, fire there. Let's raise the price by $100 freaking $200. Like most people have an extra $200 to pay. Like 100, 200 is not going to make a big difference to your offer. Like I really think raising your prices slowly, but consistently is really the key here. Hey, Darren, thanks for joining. And so when I raised my prices, like after those two situations where I undercharged, like I went from 150 to 300 to 550 to 700 to 1400 to 1600 to 1800. I literally raised every time. Like even when I raised 1400 to 1800, like I put some people at 1600. I was like, I don't even care. Like I'm literally just raising, like I would have even raised for 100 just so I can, because I know every step gets me closer to that next thing, right? So those are the main things that I really wanted to talk about in terms of stopping being nice and charging bank as a business owner. So yeah, I think the biggest kind of toxic psychological thing that goes on in my mind that prevents me from like charging what I really think I should charge is that guilt and like that feeling of like I've offended this person. But the way that I talk myself off that ledge is they're the wrong person. Like if someone thinks that like and I'm talking like if people have already paid your prices, like you have people who have paid your higher prices and now some other people say that they're too expensive, they're the wrong people. Like I'm holding out for the person who can pay my prices even if it means that I'm losing out on sales right now. That's just my personal strategy because I think continuing to charge lower prices really hurts your mindset and that prevents you from getting confident, which prevents you from pushing the boundaries because you're too scared. And so I think just trusting, like, this is where the self belief comes in, right? Like, just trust the fact that your ideal clients are out there. And I'll leave you with this last kind of image that works really well for me is whenever you think about like, oh, like, like I shouldn't sell or like I shouldn't ask for this price or like I should give this just or something, you're actually getting further from reaching your ideal client. And as you do that, your ideal client is actually getting sadder, like literally getting sadder. I am taking on a new client in August. And let me tell you the message that she sent me the other day. We were chatting, just like getting excited to work together in August. And she was saying something about like, I'm so like determined, like, let's, I've changed my business before, but like, I want to like this, I want to make this work. And I was like, yeah, I totally get you. I've switched so many things around. Like, haha, like I actually even almost threw my business away in March. Like that would have been like a disaster. And she replied and she was like, that actually would have been a really big tragedy. Like, I need you. And I looked at that message and I was like, oh my God, like, this is why I've been raising my prices. This is why I've been saying no to the wrong people. This is why I fought that feeling when I felt guilty and still kept charging my prices and upping them and all that stuff because I've been holding out for this person. Last year in September, I couldn't envision this person. This person telling me, like, oh my gosh, like you almost threw your business away. Like, that's a tragedy. She literally said that's tragic. I had no idea this person existed. Like, I had no idea this person would ever say this to me last year in September. But I believed one day like they would show up and they're out there somewhere. And I believed in that and I worked towards them and I reached them, right? But if we don't believe in that higher version, we're never going to elevate to that, right? So I want you to think like next time you're too scared to sell, think about the fact that you're distancing yourself from your ideal client and they're getting sadder because for a lot of them, you're the only person who can help them. I know that's a really hard truth to internalize, especially early in your business, but it's something that you need to meditate on and journal is like you have a unique gift. And I think at the end of the day, charging prices and making like not being nice and charging bank is basically about like understanding your actual worth, right? And your potential. Your potential. I think it's more your potential than your current day worth, right? I think as entrepreneurs, we need to really live with our future potential. And so this is a lot of the work that I do with my clients where I see their potential, right? And so what I'm actually working with is where I think they can go in 3 months. And so this is actually the last kind of piece of the puzzle here is sometimes when I'm raising my prices, it's because I'm raising the caliber of client that I'm working with. And I really want people who are going to push themselves, right? And who really want to push the boundaries and go beyond and actually create a life that they didn't know was possible a year ago. Like I want to work with people who are holding out for that ideal client who they don't yet know where they are, when are they going to reach out to you, what are they like, what kind of offer are they going to buy, like how are you going to be working with them? But they know they exist. Those are the people that I want to work with. So if you're someone who's like, I know that my ideal client is out there, I may not be serving exactly what embodies that like dream soulmate client yet, but I know that I'm going to find them and I know that I need to level up and really position myself and really show up consistently on LinkedIn and create high quality content. And I want to bring them inbound because I want to be able to have control and the confidence to raise my prices, upsell people, and all that. If you're someone who's like that, I want to work with you. So send me a message because I'm rolling out some new containers that are going to be a lot, very, very structured to help you basically slowly walk towards your ideal client on LinkedIn and get to the point where they are reaching out to you inbound. So send me a message if you're like fired up about this. I'd love to chat with you. But other than that, I will be back next week for Baddie Diaries again, where we're going to be talking about content and what it really takes to create content that actually converts, actually grabs your ideal client's attention, actually gets people to get to know you. So by the time they are ready to DM you, they don't have very many objections. They are hooked on your vibe and they are excited to work with you and how to actually do that on repeat. So I'm so excited to dive into content. I really hope y'all will be joining me next week. Same time, same place, 8 a.m., 11 a.m. EST, 8 a.m. PST, Instagram and YouTube. And Yeah, send me a message if you guys enjoyed this one. I want to hear your feedback. What are your light bulb moments? What are some shifts in your thinking? What's something that you don't agree with? You're like, I hate that perspective. Send me a DM. I want to hear all the feedback. I love chatting with you guys. And yeah, have a good rest of your week. Let's kill it, baddies.